Indifference. The lack of interest, concern, or sympathy. Being uninvolved or just emotionally detached. I think that indifference is the true opposite of love, not hate, which most people believe that hate is the opposite of love. They, I believe that they're both sides. They're both two sides of the same coin. They both require energy, emotion, and a connection, whether it's positive or negative. They both stem from an engagement or some type of string with something or someone. But indifference, that stands just away. It it's me saying it doesn't matter to me. And that can be powerful, but also can be dangerous. But today I want to talk about how indifference can be powerful. It allows us to take a step back from conflict, right? That doesn't serve us. It doesn't give us any type of positive thing in our life. And it allows us to protect our peace. It's about recognizing that every battle is sometimes just not worth fighting. And the wisest choice that we have in these situations is just to let go. Um, and I think that the election this year has brought to light a lot of reasons why some people need to be indifferent. Um, Obviously, we have Trump versus Harris, blue versus red, donkeys versus elephant, however you want to put it. And I think in the years that I have been living, this is the most divided I've ever seen people be when it comes to choosing a president or just voting on any particular laws or amendments that are within your state government that was on the ballot this year. Um, and it's quite scary to me. It is quite frightful to see that this is the direction that we're going to be going in our future. And I don't know if I want to continue to, I don't know what I can do. Maybe I can run for president and change all this. I don't know, but we'll see about that. However, I do want to show that I have been indifferent about the elections. I neither care or have any concern for either other candidate. Now, do I believe that there is one candidate that is more suited to do the job versus the other? Absolutely. Just based on their policies and things that I have read up on and done my own individual research on. However, I still did not go out and vote. And a lot of people got mad at me for that. More mad than if I were to vote for the opposite of what they wanted me to vote for. Um, or what they think I should have voted for. It's like almost being indifferent is worse than being the opposite of what that person is going for. And they was like, I think people forget that voting is a right. We have the right to remain silent or anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. Those are rights. Those rights can be taken away, but generally it's up to us to practice those rights or use those rights or refrain from those rights and be like, hey, I'm going to remain silent, or I'm going to give him my right to remain silent and talk, or I'm refusing my right to an attorney and I'm going to represent myself, which I wouldn't recommend. But there at the end of the day, there are rights, right? I don't have to do such things. I don't have to partake in such things. But from the people that I am, I wouldn't say I'm close to, but people that I'm in the vicinity of where I engage in conversations with them, they hate that answer more than me saying, oh, I'm going to vote for this guy over that guy. I mean, it's almost like I cannot just, wouldn't say not care, but I just cannot remain neutral to the fact that I think that both candidates may not be best. And I refuse to believe in the lesser of two evils. I believe that evil is evil, and that is that. And I don't want to partake in that. Now, I'm not calling the candidates evil. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't know them as humans. You hear these things about what they did and what they done and what they said in the past, and you can say anything about it, right? Who knows if everything you hear is true? But I want to talk to the people who are the most dangerous, and that's the ones who refuse to compromise. I am a Christian myself, and most of my values come from me believing that morality was embedded in us since birth from a higher power, and we must use that judgment and morality that is passed down to us to make decisions on how we live day to day. So one may believe that I am swaying towards one side or the other, and rather they are against or with that side is depending on will impact the way they look and they talk and they act around me. And I think that's really messed up, because at this point it's not about you being right or you being wrong. It's about that you are unwilling to have justice, to be fair, to meet in the middle. We can't find a common ground. Those who cannot compromise often cause more harm to those who make a decision, even if it's controversial. Compromise holds the glue together that we as people need to stick, right? We need this glue to hang on to us, because quite honestly, we will fall apart if we weren't willing to compromise. Now, I'm not saying always be indifferent. Indifference is a double-edged sword. It can preserve your energy when it truly matters. You don't have to argue with these buffoons every day on the internet and comment on every video you don't like, but it's allow you to focus on what's more important. When you are always indifferent, it can lead to an inaction, and you face suffering, and you refuse to engage in conversations and dialogues between people. You build yourself a wall, a barrier to progress. The key to this is balance, knowing when to care and knowing when to let go. I used to date this girl. Now, she was a Muslim girl. Obviously, that's a different religion from what I am. And I was indifferent about her religion. I didn't care what religion she followed. I didn't care what God she prayed to. As long as she acknowledged me and we were able to compromise with each other and meet in common ground, I think that was the only thing that was most important, right? I dated a girl who was entirely full of compassion, both love and hate, and she refused to believe that there were a common ground. Now, am I the charmer that I've always been? No. Obviously, I believe I have grown a lot. I was very immature in later stages of my life, but I think now I could be a pretty good boyfriend. I could be a pretty good lover if I tried, but right now I'm indifferent. I'm indifferent about it right now. But it was yes, it was good. The loving part was good. It's just when it wasn't love. Everybody always takes the good for the good, and they hate to say, oh, when it's bad, it's bad. Well, the best quote that I have ever heard in my life is that when somebody show you who they are, believe them. Do not try to convince yourself that is just a phase, that is just something, that is a mask, that it's just, it's a coincidence, right? When they show you, they freaking mean it. Take that with a grain of salt, with however you want, but you have to make a decision for yourself. Are you going to allow this type of behavior to continue? And I say all this about indifference and love and hate, all this to say is that we must be careful. We must be very, very, very careful how we go about our lives when it comes to our emotions. There are things that needed to be loved. There are things that need to be hated. But it's not always black and white. If you ever mix black and white, what you get? You get the color gray, and that is indifference. The true opposite. Because sometimes every battle is just not worth fighting. Every turmoil doesn't need to be protected. Indifference is a double-edged sword. And it reminds us that life is delicate and it's precious. And we need to understand that both sides can be right. And that two things can be wrong. I am getting my behind tossed in this Naruto gameplay, so I apologize. This was 9 a.m. in the morning. I'll try to do better next time when I play. And maybe you guys have a good video to see while I talk about some nonsense. But my faith has guided me for so long, and I didn't always walk with faith, however. Even when I didn't think that my faith was important and God was not listening, He was. And He was still directing my life. I just couldn't see it. Whether it was because I was blinded to it, because I wasn't reading scripture, or I just didn't want to see it and I was ignoring it because I wanted to live the way that I wanted to live. And I haven't always been indifferent. You know, growing up as an African American in a poor neighborhood, borderline poverty, you know, we were taught to vote one way. We were taught to, oh, these type of people will always be this way, and they will never look at you as a human being. They want to bring back this, that, yada, yada, yada. And I listened to everybody who was older than me because I believe they were wiser than me. But age doesn't mean wisdom. Let's get that out the way. But I listened because I thought it was right. I thought it was true. I believed everything that they told me. I didn't think for myself. And then to get into my later years that I did start to think for myself. I would say about the first 19 or 20 something years of my life, I did not think for myself. Every decision that I made, I had somebody else in mind. Every thought that I had was a thought that was already conceived by somebody else. I can't tell you one original thought that I have had that made an impact on my life until I was about 22 or 23 years old. And that's really sad. Because look how long it is taking for other people to acknowledge this. Look at how long it is taking for other people to do these things. And it is so sad when I talk to people who are my age and they don't really realize the facets of life and the foolishness that they have been taught, that they are being brought down the wrong path. And it's quite embarrassing, if I'm being quite honest. Luckily for me, I was able to get out of that, and I was able to finally find myself and be able to come up and construct my own thoughts and be able to not only do that, but to share those thoughts and those things with other people so they may follow this path. Now, am I some type of prophet? No. Or some leader? No. I'm just as smart as the next guy who has a bachelor's degree in college, but I just think that no. I know that indifference can be destructive, but indifference can save lives as well. Life is about balance. If you drink too much water, you'll drown. You eat too much too, you'll be fat. I had another one, but I don't think it's YouTube appropriate. But it's all about balance. And life without balance ceases to exist. It has no meaning whatsoever. Nothing is ever right and nothing is ever left. Everything is gray.